Hi, folks. My name is Brian Bailey. I'm an attorney with the Gibbs Fire Lawyers. I've been practicing for 9 years, and over that time, in connection with the Gibbs Fire Lawyers, we have represented thousands of clients who have been impacted by wildfires. Today, I'm going to talk to you about creating a personal property inventory. This video provides a few helpful tips to make creating your personal property inventory go as smoothly as possible. Preparing a personal property inventory is a necessary step in maximizing your personal property loss recovery. To improve your chances for a full personal property loss recovery, you should include as many of your lost items in your inventory as possible. This can be a long process and at times emotionally challenging. However, we have found that giving yourself enough time and following certain steps can make this process easier. A personal property inventory is a list of all personal property items that you lost in a fire. That includes the value of each item. The first step in creating a personal property inventory is understanding what personal property is. The term personal property refers to any movable item that is not attached to the real estate. Some examples of personal property would include, but are not limited to, furniture, clothing, dishware, electronics, jewelry, and actually a vehicle is personal property. On the other hand, items that are attached to the real property, such as a dwelling, the doors, windows, bathroom fixtures, or landscaping, are not personal property. These items are real property and should not be included in your personal property inventory. The next step in creating your personal property inventory is to decide which format you want to use. When creating the inventory, you can use the format that works best for you. If you have insurance, you are likely already preparing an inventory or may have already prepared an inventory for your insurance carrier. You can use that inventory for your personal property claim. However, you are not required to do so. Every inventory should be an itemized list that includes the description of each item, the quantity of the items listed, the condition of the item, whether that be fair, good, poor, maybe even perfect, and the value of the listed item. For organization, clients have generally found it easier to create a separate list for each room. Our firm has also created a personal property inventory template that you may use. If you are already one of our clients, we likely have already sent you the inventory. However, we are also happy to provide the template upon request. Once you have decided on the format of the inventory, you are now ready to begin adding items. Your inventory should include all or as much lost property as possible. However, keep in mind that it may not be realistic to expect yourself to remember every single thing that you lost. You should do your best to include as much as you can and know that you can come back and add additional items while the case is still pending. When you begin adding items, we recommend that you go room by room, visualizing the property that was in each room. You should also check with friends and family members about their recollections of the properties that you had in each room. In doing so, don't forget to think about what was in the drawers and the closets of each room. In this vein, we also recommend that you create a separate list for each room, going back to the room as you recall another item that was in it. If you are using Excel to create a personal property inventory, creating a separate worksheet for each room with columns for the item, condition, and value is an efficient way to create a personal property inventory. To ensure completeness, we also recommend that you check your email folders and online purchases like Amazon, which may show items that you owned as well as the purchase price and date. Additionally, we recommend that you ask family and friends for photos of events at your home that may show items in your house, or they may also have receipts for items that they purchased for you. The most important thing is that you do not omit any items. There is no limit to the amount of actual personal property losses that we can seek to recover from SoCal Edison. If you have insurance, you should continue adding lost items even if the overall value exceeds your insurance policy limit, keeping in mind that your insurer may depreciate some items, lowering their value. Remember, creating this inventory is a long process and it can be emotionally challenging, so you should ensure that you take care of yourself by taking breaks when necessary, because thinking about items that you lost is going to take a toll on you emotionally. With respect to valuing your property, each item in the inventory must be valued. Valuing personal property can be tricky and it's not always intuitive. California law allows us to recover the fair market value for lost personal property. The fair market value of an item is the amount that you would expect a reasonable buyer to pay for that item based on the condition it was in. A way to think about it is if you, right before the fire, had sold that item to a complete stranger who had no personal connection to the item, what amount would you expect that person to reasonably pay for the item? That amount is the fair market value. It's important to note that the fair market value is different from the replacement value, which would be the cost to replace that item with a new one. If your inventory includes an item with a value that's greater than $10,000, you will need to provide documentation substantiating the value listed in the inventory. Examples of documents that could be used to substantiate the value of the item would include, but are not limited to, a purchase receipt or an appraisal. Your inventory may also include certain irreplaceable items that are difficult to value, such as family heirlooms, photographs, or other items of sentimental value. These items are often uniquely valuable to you as you may have a strong personal connection to the item. However, California law only allows us to recover the fair market value for lost personal property. Therefore, for the purposes of your personal property claim, you should list the fair market value for that item. If you have questions about whether an item should be included in your inventory or about valuation, please feel free to contact our team by phone at 626-669-4886 or by email at lafires@classlawgroup.com.